I trusted my sister with my life, then found her in bed with my husband while I was undergoing cancer treatment. I never thought I'd be the person writing one of these posts. The kind where strangers on the internet know more about my life's devastation than my closest friends. But here I am, 3 a.m., unable to sleep, wondering how my entire life imploded so spectacularly in just 6 weeks. It started with a diagnosis. Stage 3 breast cancer. I'm 34. No family history. The doctor's voice sounded distant, like I was underwater, as he explained treatment options and survival rates. My husband Jake held my hand so tight it hurt, but I welcomed the pain. It felt like the only thing anchoring me to reality. "We'll get through this," Jake whispered as we walked to the car. "Whatever it takes." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? We'd been married 8 years, built our dream home together, had been trying for a baby before the diagnosis derailed everything. He was my rock, my safe place. And my sister Megan? She was my best friend. My protector since we were kids. When our parents divorced, she held me through the nights I couldn't stop crying. When my college boyfriend cheated, she drove 4 hours to bring me ice cream and rage against men with me until sunrise. When Jake and I got married, her maid of honor speech made everyone cry happy tears. "You two are what I measure love against," she'd said, raising her glass to us. The real deal. So when I started chemo and could barely function, it made perfect sense that Megan would move in temporarily to help. She lived only 30 minutes away, was between jobs after being laid off, and insisted this was what sisters did. Jake agreed immediately. "This way I won't worry about you when I'm at work," he said, kissing my forehead. "Megan can take you to appointments, make sure you eat something." The first 3 weeks were exactly what you'd expect. Brutal treatments. Vomiting. Hair starting to fall out in clumps. Jake holding a trash can for me, Megan making bland foods I could sometimes keep down. Both of them researching clinical trials just in case. Both telling me how strong I was when I felt anything but. I noticed small things, of course. How Megan started dressing nicer even though we rarely left the house. How she and Jake seemed to have inside jokes I wasn't part of. The way conversations sometimes stopped when I entered a room. But cancer plays with your mind. Makes you paranoid, irritable, suspicious. I chalked it up to chemo brain and focused on surviving each day. Then came the day 3 weeks ago that split my life into before and after. I'd had a particularly rough treatment session. The oncology nurse had trouble finding a vein, sticking me 4 times before success. I was nauseated, exhausted, and had sent Megan and Jake home from the hospital, insisting I just needed to sleep in the infusion center's recliner until this round finished. They'd protested but eventually left together to get the house ready for my return. My treatment finished earlier than expected. The nurse found me anti-nausea medication that actually worked for once, and suddenly I wasn't feeling the need to be horizontal and near a bathroom. I called an Uber instead of bothering them to come back, wanting to surprise them with my relatively good condition. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. No TV noise, no cooking sounds, nothing. Their cars were both in the driveway though. I called out but no one answered. I found them in our bedroom. My husband and my sister. In my bed. The bed where Jake had held my hair back when I vomited the night before. Where he'd promised in sickness and in health wasn't just words to him. I stood in that doorway for what felt like eternity. They didn't even notice me at first, too wrapped up in each other. When they did, God, their faces. Not even guilt. Just shock and irritation at being caught, like I'd interrupted a TV show they were enjoying. "Amy," Jake started, pulling the sheet up. "This isn't." I didn't stay to hear whatever lie he was constructing. I walked out, got back in the Uber that thankfully hadn't left yet, and checked into a hotel. My phone exploded with calls and texts, which I ignored. I sat on that hotel bed staring at the wall for hours, too numb to even cry. How do you process finding the 2 people you trusted most betraying you during the most vulnerable time in your life? In your marriage bed? While cancer is literally eating away at your body? I didn't tell anyone at first. Who could I tell? My sister was my best friend. Jake and I shared all our friends. My parents lived across the country and were dealing with my dad's early Alzheimer's. So I sat alone in that hotel room for 3 days, leaving only to vomit in the bathroom when the chemo after effects hit. I didn't answer the door when hotel staff knocked. Didn't eat. Barely drank enough to stay alive. On the 4th day, my oncologist called. I'd missed a follow-up appointment. Something in his concerned voice broke through my fog. I answered mechanically, made excuses about transportation issues. Hung up and finally broke down sobbing. I had cancer. I couldn't just check out of my life, no matter how badly I wanted to. I called my cousin Tara, who lived 2 hours away. We weren't super close, but she was family who wasn't Megan. I told her everything in a voice that didn't sound like mine. She drove straight to me, walked into that hotel room, took one look at my unwashed body and vacant eyes, and took over. "You're coming home with me," she said, "no room for argument. We'll figure the rest out later." That was the first decision I didn't have to make myself, and something about surrendering to someone else's plan felt like the first breath after nearly drowning. At Tara's house, with her fussing over me and making doctor's appointments, reality started seeping back in. My phone continued blowing up. Jake's messages evolved from "we need to talk" to "I know this looks bad" to "please just tell me you're safe" to increasingly frantic and angry demands to know where I was. Megan's texts were worse somehow. "I know you hate me right now, but I love you so much. This wasn't planned. We never meant to hurt you. Please come home so we can explain. You need your treatments. You need your family right now." Family. As if she remembered we were sisters only when convenient. 2 weeks after finding them, I finally responded to Jake with 4 words: "I want a divorce." His reply came instantly: "Don't do this. Not while you're sick. Let me explain." I blocked him. Tara connected me with her friend who practiced family law. I explained my situation in the sterile conference room, this stranger taking notes while I detailed how my husband and sister had betrayed me while I was fighting for my life. "How long do you think it was going on?" the lawyer asked. I hadn't even considered that question. My mind had been stuck in the horrible present. "I don't know. Since she moved in, I guess." The lawyer looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Chen, I need to ask some difficult questions to properly represent you. Did you notice any signs before your sister moved in? Phone guarding, unexplained absences, changes in behavior with your husband?" I started to say no, then stopped. Flashes of memory surfaced. Jake insisting on driving Megan home after family dinners. Their lengthy text conversations he'd explained away as planning my birthday surprise. How they always seemed to arrive together at family events when Jake was supposed to be coming straight from work. The way my sister's expression sometimes changed when she looked at him, a softness I'd attributed to her being happy for me. "Oh my God," I whispered. "How did I not see it?" "Don't blame yourself," the lawyer said gently. "People hide affairs because they know what they're doing is wrong." An affair. The word felt both inadequate and overwhelming. This wasn't just sex. This was systematic betrayal by the 2 people I'd trusted most while I was fighting cancer. That night, I found myself Googling how long my type of cancer typically had before diagnosis. 2 to 5 years was the average time malignant cells had been growing before detection. Had they been sleeping together that entire time? Was my entire marriage a lie? I didn't want to know, yet needed to. The next day, I unblocked Jake long enough to send another text: "How long?" His response came 3 agonizing minutes later: 2 years. But it was just physical at first. I never meant to have feelings for her. 2 years. Half of what we'd been trying to have a baby. I vomited until there was nothing left, then dry heaved until my ribs ached. Tara held me on her bathroom floor, stroking my patchy hair, murmuring comforts neither of us believed. That revelation broke something fundamental in me. If they could lie for 2 years, what else had they lied about? I spiraled into questions that had no answers. Had they laughed at me behind my back? Had my cancer diagnosis been a relief because it gave them more time together while I was at treatments? Had they used my infertility struggles as opportunities to be together? Worse, had Jake wished the cancer would take me so they could be together without the messy divorce? That thought, once formed, wouldn't leave. I became convinced my husband wanted me dead. That perhaps he'd even hoped the cancer would progress faster. After all, a dead wife made him the grieving widower rather than the cheating scumbag. I shared this thought with Tara, who immediately called my oncologist and explained the situation. He connected me with the hospital psychiatrist who diagnosed severe situational depression and PTSD. She prescribed medication and insisted on daily check-ins. "What you're experiencing is trauma on top of trauma," she explained. "Cancer alone would be enough to break many people. Add this betrayal, and it's no wonder you're having these thoughts." I nodded, took the pills, went through the motions of surviving. Transferred my treatment to a hospital near Tara. Started the divorce proceedings. Blocked both Jake and Megan on everything. But they weren't so easily erased from my life. A week ago, Tara came home from work with a strange expression. "Amy, there's something you should know. Jake called my office today." My blood turned to ice. "How did he even know where you work?" "He's been calling everywhere trying to find you. He's worried about your treatment. He said he's still your emergency contact and medical proxy. That you never changed it. I hadn't. In the chaos, I'd forgotten that fundamental detail. The realization that Jake could legally make medical decisions for me if I became incapacitated sent me into a panic attack so severe Tara almost called an ambulance. When I could breathe again, I called my oncologist and rectified that situation immediately. Then I made another decision. I needed to face them, at least once. To say my piece. To look them in the eyes and make them confront what they'd done. Not for closure, I didn't believe in such neat psychological packaging anymore, but because part of me needed to stand in my power instead of feeling like the victim who fled. I asked Tara to drive me to my house, my former house, the next day. Jake's car was there. So was Megan's. Of course they were together. Probably playing house in my absence. Tara squeezed my hand. You don't have to do this. I do, I said. Wait here. I used my key, the familiar sound of it turning in the lock sending shivers down my spine. I walked into what had been my home for 6 years. They were on the couch watching TV. Like a normal couple. In my house. Jake's arm around my sister's shoulders. Both jumped up when I entered. Amy, Megan cried, taking a step toward me. I held up my hand. Don't you dare try to hug me or touch me. Jake looked terrible, unshaven and gaunt. Good. We've been so worried, he said. How are your treatments going? The audacity of his concern made me laugh, a hollow sound that frightened even me. You don't get to ask about my health. You don't get to pretend you care about me. But I do care, he started. 2 years, I cut him off. 2 years you've been sleeping with my sister while married to me. While trying for a baby with me. While watching me cry every month when I wasn't pregnant. Megan was crying now. Amy, please. We never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? I screamed, the sound tearing from somewhere primal inside me. Why my sister? Of all the women in the world, why her? And why, Megan? Why your sister's husband? They exchanged a glance, a private communication that excluded me, and something inside me snapped. I picked up the nearest object, a framed photo of Jake and me on our honeymoon, and hurled it at the wall. The glass shattered spectacularly. Answer me. Jake spoke first, his voice small. It just happened. We tried to stop so many times. Don't you dare, I hissed. Nothing just happens for 2 years. You made choices. Every day, every time, you chose to betray me. Both of you. Megan was sobbing now. I hate myself for hurting you. But I love him, Amy. Those words hit me like physical blows. Each one landing with precision on already tender wounds. Love, I repeated, the word bitter in my mouth. You know nothing about love. Love isn't selfish. It doesn't destroy people. What you two have is just selfishness masquerading as feeling. I looked around at the home we'd built, suddenly seeing evidence of their affair everywhere. The throw pillows Megan had helped pick out. The kitchen where they'd probably cooked together while I was at chemo. The stairs they'd likely had sex on. I came to tell you both that I'm selling this house. Jake, my lawyer will contact yours. I want nothing from you except for you to pay what the law requires for the medical bills your insurance has covered. And Megan. I turned to my sister, the person who'd known me longest in this world. Don't ever contact me again. You're dead to me. Her face crumpled. Please, Amy. You're my sister. We can get past this eventually. No, we can't. And you know what the worst part is? When my cancer was diagnosed, do you know what scared me most? Not dying. It was the thought of leaving Jake alone. I made Megan promise to look after you, I said, turning to Jake. To make sure you weren't alone too long, to help you find someone new eventually. I was worried about both of you while I was facing death, and you were already together behind my back. The look of shame that crossed both their faces gave me the first real satisfaction I'd felt in weeks. I hope you're very happy together, I said, voice dripping with sarcasm. You deserve each other. I turned to leave, but Jake grabbed my wrist. Amy, wait. Your treatment, you need support. Let us help you. We still care. I yanked my arm away. Don't touch me. And don't pretend this is about concern for me. You just want to alleviate your guilt. Find another way to feel better about yourselves because I'm not it. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. In the car, Tara held me while I finally, properly cried. Not the numb tears of shock or the angry tears of confrontation, but deep, body-racking sobs of grief for everything I'd lost. My marriage. My sister. My home. My hair. My health. My future as I'd imagined it. Gone. That was a week ago. Since then, I've started making real decisions instead of just reacting. I found a small apartment near Terrace. I've consulted with a financial advisor about my options post-divorce. I've started looking into support groups for cancer patients, though I haven't been able to make myself go yet. Yesterday, I received a package. Inside was a thumb drive and a letter from Megan. I know you don't want to hear from me, it read, and I'll respect that after this. But there are things you should know for the divorce. Jake's been hiding money. Moving funds to accounts you don't know about since before your diagnosis. I've put everything I know on this drive. I'm not asking forgiveness. I just thought you should have this information. I stared at that drive for hours before plugging it in. Part of me wondered if this was some manipulation tactic. But what I found was worse than I imagined. Bank statements. Transfer records. Evidence that Jake had been systematically draining our joint accounts and retirement funds for over a year, moving money into offshore accounts. There were also text messages between them, screenshots Megan had saved. Discussions about their future together dating back 18 months. Plans made while I was blissfully unaware, thinking my marriage was solid. Most damning were messages from 3 months ago, before my diagnosis. Jake, I can't keep living this double life. I need to tell Amy. Megan, not yet. The timing's not right. We need to be careful with our savings first. Jake, I've moved another $50,000. She hasn't noticed. We'll have enough to start over soon. Megan, I hate hurting her. But I can't imagine life without you now. They had been planning to leave me. To take my money and run off together. My cancer diagnosis had merely interrupted their timeline. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, who called me immediately. This changes everything, she said. This is financial fraud. With this evidence, we can go after those hidden accounts. And the judge will not look kindly on him draining marital assets. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt hollow. How had I been so blind? How had I missed the signs that the two people closest to me were not only betraying me emotionally but planning to destroy me financially as well? The therapist I started seeing tells me to stop asking how did I miss this and start asking how do I move forward. She's right, of course, but it's so much harder to do than to understand intellectually. My latest scan showed the cancer is responding to treatment. The tumors are shrinking. The oncologist is cautiously optimistic about my prognosis. It should be the best news, but I received it alone, sitting in that sterile exam room with no hand to hold. I texted Tara the results, and she sent back a string of celebration emojis. I appreciated her enthusiasm but couldn't match it. How do you celebrate fighting for a life that's been so thoroughly shattered? Last night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I looked in the mirror, really looked at myself. The patchy hair. The sallow skin. The hollowed cheeks from weight I couldn't afford to lose. The eyes that had seen too much betrayal. You're going to survive this, I told my reflection. All of it. The cancer. The betrayal. The divorce. And you're going to build something new. I didn't believe it yet. But maybe saying it aloud was the first step to making it true. This morning I woke up and, for the first time since finding them together, my first thought wasn't about Jake or Megan or cancer. It was about what I wanted for breakfast. Such a small, normal thought. But it felt like the first green shoot after a forest fire. Update, it's been 2 weeks since I last wrote. Things have happened so fast I can hardly process it all. My lawyer used Megan's evidence to file emergency motions freezing Jake's assets. When confronted with the evidence, he tried claiming the accounts were for investment purposes, but the timing of the transfers and the text messages made his intentions clear. Then came a twist I never expected. 3 days ago, Megan showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't answer the door, but something in her voice through the intercom sounded desperate. She looked terrible. Thin, eyes red-rimmed, hands shaking. I know you hate me, she said the moment I opened the door, and you have every right to. But there's more you need to know about Jake. I nearly shut the door in her face. I think I know enough. You don't. Her voice was urgent. He's been seeing someone else. Besides me. My laugh was bitter. Of course he has. Why should you be special? Her face crumpled. I thought I was. I believed everything he told me. That you two had grown apart. That he was going to leave you before your diagnosis. That I wasn't just. God, I was so stupid. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Not because I forgave her, I didn't, but because something in her desperate expression told me this wasn't just about assuaging her guilt. She showed me more texts on her phone, recent ones. Between Jake and someone named Lindsay. Plans they were making. Money he was promising her. The same lines he'd used on Megan. I confronted him, Megan said, voice hollow. He said I was crazy. That I was reading too much into friendly messages. But then I followed him. He's been staying at her place 3 nights a week while telling me he's at the gym or working late. The absurdity of it all hit me then. My sister, who had been helping my husband cheat on me, was now devastated that he was cheating on her too. Why are you telling me this? I asked. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Because you deserve to know everything for the divorce. And because. She hesitated. Because I think he's more dangerous than we realized. When I confronted him about Lindsay, he got scary. Grabbed my arms hard enough to leave bruises. Said if I messed things up for him, I'd regret it. She pulled up her sleeves to show me the fingerprint bruises on her upper arms. Did he ever hurt you? She asked quietly. During your marriage? No, I said immediately. Then paused, remembering moments I'd dismissed. How Jake would punch walls when truly angry. How he'd grip my arm just a little too tight when guiding me through crowded places. How he'd drive erratically when we argued in the car, scaring me into stopping the fight. Not physically, I amended. But there were signs I ignored. We sat in silence, 2 sisters connected by the same man's betrayal. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Megan finally said. I know what I did is unforgivable. I just wanted you to have all the information. Be careful with him, Amy. I think when cornered, he might be capable of worse than either of us imagined. After she left, I called my lawyer again and told her everything. She advised me to get a restraining order, which I did the next day. When Jake was served with both the restraining order and the new financial motions, he completely unraveled. Started calling everyone we knew, telling them I was mentally unstable from the cancer treatments. That Megan was lying out of jealousy. That I was trying to ruin him financially while he'd been nothing but supportive. Some people believed him. My cousin Tara forwarded me concerned texts from mutual friends asking if I was thinking clearly during this difficult time. The doubt hurt almost as much as the betrayal. Almost. Yesterday, Jake violated the restraining order. Showed up at my apartment building, tried to get past security. They called the police, who arrested him. He spent the night in jail. This morning, I received a rambling email from him, sent from someone else's account to get around my blocks. It swung wildly between apologetic and threatening. Begging for another chance one paragraph, accusing me of destroying his life the next. Claiming he still loved me, then saying I'd better watch myself. I forwarded it to my lawyer and the police, another violation to add to the report. I'm scared now. Not just sad or angry, but actually frightened of what Jake might do. The man I married, who I thought I knew better than anyone, has become a stranger capable of who knows what. Edit, it's 2 a.m. and I can't sleep. Something Megan said keeps echoing in my mind. About Jake getting scary when confronted. About him being more dangerous than we realized. I've been thinking about our married life through this new lens. Remembering how Jake would subtly isolate me from friends he didn't approve of. How he'd question my memory of events, insisting conversations had gone differently than I recalled. How finances were always too complicated for me to understand, so he handled everything. Was it all calculated? Had I been married to a manipulator all along? Or did power and secrecy corrupt him gradually? Either way, I no longer recognize the man I pledged my life to. And that realization is almost as devastating as the betrayal itself. Not just that he cheated, but that perhaps I never really knew him at all. It's been 3 months since my last update. So much has changed that I hardly know where to begin. The divorce is finalized. Jake eventually accepted a settlement rather than let all his financial manipulation become public record. He didn't get away with hiding the money, my lawyer made sure of that, but he avoided criminal charges. I don't know if that's justice, exactly, but it's done, and that's what matters to me now. My cancer treatments are complete. The final scan showed no evidence of disease. I'm in remission. My oncologist says we'll monitor closely for 5 years, but he's very pleased with my response. My hair is growing back, different than before, darker and curlier. It feels symbolic somehow. As for Megan, we're not back to being sisters. I don't think we ever can be. But after she testified against Jake in the divorce proceedings, providing all the evidence of his financial fraud and helping me secure the settlement I deserved, I've reached a state I can only describe as not actively hating her. We've spoken twice. Brief, painful conversations that ended with both of us in tears. She's in therapy, trying to understand why she was capable of such betrayal. I believe she's genuinely remorseful, but some wounds go too deep for simple forgiveness. Maybe someday we'll find a new way to exist in each other's lives. Just not yet. I've moved to a new city. Started a new job. Made new friends who know me only as I am now, not as half of Jake and Amy or Megan's sister. It's liberating in a way I never expected. Last week, I went on my first date since everything happened. Nothing serious, just coffee with a kind man I met through a cancer survivors group. I was nervous, convinced the betrayal must show on my face somehow, like a brand marking me as someone who wasn't enough to keep her husband's fidelity or her sister's loyalty. But as we talked, I realized something. I'm not defined by what was done to me. I'm defined by how I survived it. When he asked about my divorce, I'd mentioned it briefly when explaining my move. I simply said, my husband made choices that ended our marriage during a very difficult time in my life. He nodded and didn't press for details. Instead, he asked about my favorite books, my new job, my dreams for the future. My future. Something I couldn't even imagine 4 months ago when I found my husband and sister in my bed. I don't know what that future holds exactly. More treatment follow-ups, certainly. More therapy to process the complex trauma of simultaneous cancer and betrayal. More awkward family gatherings where relatives don't know whether to mention Megan's name around me. But also more opportunities to define myself on my own terms. To build a life based on my values, not on pleasing others or maintaining relationships with people who don't deserve my loyalty. I still have moments of rage so intense they frighten me. Days when the unfairness of it all hits anew. Nights when I wake up breathless with panic, convinced the cancer is back or that Jake is somehow destroying my life from afar. But those moments are becoming less frequent. The good days outnumber the bad ones now. If you'd told me 6 months ago that I could survive cancer, betrayal, divorce, and the loss of my sister all at once, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have wanted to survive it. The pain seemed too enormous, too all-consuming. Yet here I am, still standing. Still breathing. Still capable of feeling joy, however fleeting. That, I think, is the most unexpected plot twist in this whole terrible story. Not just that I was betrayed so completely by those I trusted most, but that such betrayal didn't destroy me after all. I don't know who I am yet, in this new life. But I'm discovering her day by day, and I think I might actually like her, this woman who withstood the unthinkable and emerged not unmarked, but unbroken. And that feels like enough of a victory for now.